Good morning and hi to everyone who is at home today. Today is Monday, January 10th, and I'm going to quickly go over what we're working on for today. So first and foremost here, I've got the agenda pulled up. We are going to look at the thesis statement throwdown. You guys won't be able to participate in the activity we're doing in class, but I just wanted to quickly go through because we're writing a thesis statement. Let me see. Because we're writing a thesis statement in class, we're doing this activity, but you'll need a thesis statement for your essay that we're working on today. So just as some quick reminders, in general, a thesis statement expresses the purpose or main point of your essay. So additionally, your thesis may include the significance of your opinion on a topic. In this case, it very well could, because we're all focusing on our thematic question about how does a person overcome adversity. So you may have a thesis statement that includes your opinion. Remember our thematic question, how does a person overcome adversity? And we are connecting the 5 texts that we looked at last week to answer that question. So as you write, just keep in mind, we can reflect, and I can always, if you want to email it to me or send it to me, I am happy to revise your thesis statement. The link for this Prezi is in the agenda if you'd like to look at it more thoroughly. So, real quick, so I would just go through this Prezi. I won't walk you through each of it, but just know that we're going to do in class an activity where, as a group, they will come up with a thesis statement, and then we'll edit it and kind of choose the best one. But for you guys, since you are at home and unable to participate, I would just go to our agenda, and the link for the Prezi is right here. The next thing on our agenda is reflect on your concept map and make sure it's submitted. If you go to if you go into Schoology, and then we're going to click on Adversity Thematic Unit, and then you'll want to submit your completed concept map here. If you're unsure of what I mean by concept map, that is the concept map that we worked on Friday. So we've got adversity in the middle. How does a person overcome adversity? We have our 5 texts, right? Life After Sport, Inundated, An Obstacle, By Degree and Dilatory Time, and Why I Love a Country That Once Betrayed Me, and how they are connected to how a person overcomes adversity. The other point is that you should have how each of these texts connect to each other. Remember, the lines duplicate, so Life After Sport and By Degree and Dilatory Time, there's going to be 2 connections, right? You go over here, Life After, so there's 2. So you only need to find 1 connection. So some of these lines will be left blank. Some of the lines will be left blank, and that is okay. If you submit it on Friday, but you would like to add to it now that it's Monday, maybe you've got some fresh ideas for these connections, you can certainly resubmit your completed concept map, okay? But you need to submit it by today at 3:30. So submit completed concept map, okay? In order to submit, you can also do this share to, right? And then you can share to, and then share note, right? And then you can choose the Schoology app from here. You can also do save to files and submit it to Schoology that way. So submit completed concept map, okay? Going back to our agenda, we are then looking at an overview of our essay. So let's look at how we are going to start writing our essay. In the adversity thematic unit, you'll want to click on Adversity Writing Response. So again, the thematic question is listed there. The task says, this week we've analyzed and annotated 5 sources relating to the concept of adversity. In a multiple paragraph response, answer the thematic question above. You will need to integrate quotes throughout your writing. If you're like, I don't remember how to do that, I've given you an example from your exam down below. And remember, after inserting a direct quote, you will need to cite the source by adding the author's name, last name, in parentheses after the quote. So in the example right here, it says, for example, Naomi Nishab Nye discusses how in the midst of her own struggles, she treasures the welcoming of the world. So, and then it's got parentheses, Nye, close parentheses, period. Okay. The other example, we've got According to Help Giving, we are dependent on connections for others for our happiness. So you've got the introduction, you've got the quote, set to go as the author, and then notice how after each quote, you have an explanation. So it says, this underscores the importance of finding people you can rely on for help as you go through life, okay? Big things to remember. You've talked about this a lot of times, right? So you have, you introduce the quote, then you actually have the quote, okay? And then you have the citation, right? So it's like if it were me, if I were the author, right? And then the period afterwards. And then the big thing is you have to give an explanation. A lot of times we want to start with this. This quote says, blah, 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 blah. Well, good and bad news, friends. That was great in elementary school, but now we are trying to get away from that, right? So we're grown-up writers. When you write, you want to sometimes, if you need to give an explanation, you could start with like the author's last name. That says Eckroth, states, blah, 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 blah. The idea, like obviously this quote says is not wrong. If you are stuck with that and you are truly on a roadblock, that's okay. But try not to do this. If you are also stuck, you can also look up quote analysis sentence starters on Google. They'll give you a lot of like fill in the blank kind of situations. And we'll continue to work on this. This is something we're working on throughout our research project, but just as we're starting our writing for this assignment, if you can try to avoid this quote says, go for it, okay? Jump right into it. We know that this quote says something because we've already stated the quote. All right, anyway, so make sure you go ahead and look at correctly integrating quotes. Make sure all of the titles of the text are in quotation marks, and your document should be in MLA format. So give your document a title. Title should be the same font and size as the rest of your writing. This is the heading, right, the example. This is just how we set up for our exam, right, where you have your name, my name, the class, and then the date, right? And you need to format it 12 January 2022. The big thing, remember, you are not addressing how each text is related to adversity, but rather your new understanding of how they overcome it. I don't want you to go through and list what each adversity is and how each text overcame it. The idea is that we're using the synthesis. So like, what idea can you come up with, right? So like seeking medical help, and then text A supports seeking medical help and text B supports seeking medical help. But I'm not just writing a summary of the text and how it connects to the thematic question. Come up with your own ideas and then use the text to support the ideas that you have thought of. We will be working on this in class today and tomorrow, and then we will submit at the beginning of the bell on Wednesday or January 12th. So it will be due. I will make sure all the dates and times are right in Schoology, but know that it is due by Wednesday at the beginning of the bell. There is also a rubric for you to look at. Okay, and last but not least, before you start writing, I'll show you, here's an example of a model from last year. So feel free to pause as you need to if you want to read this example, you can pause the video, but let me share it to Notability real quick, so we can note a couple of different items. Sorry, you gotta sit through this part real quick. All right. So, big things, right, to note. They used a quote, right, as a hook, but they have one. You don't have to use a quote, but you can. They have a hook, right? And then here is the other part. Oop. we then have a thesis statement, right? Things that you may also notice about this example is that they have the author, there's integrated textual evidence, right? And then you also have, so they have multiple body paragraphs, and then you also see that they have a conclusion. Okay, so again, lots of quotes, and they're using a variety of authors. Okay, so use variety of texts to support. Okay, and then, whoops, synthesize your ideas. All right, so if you have any questions on anything that we have talked about, this was a lot in a very short video. If you have individual questions, please feel free to email me. If you want to pop on Zoom, we can do that. But the rest of the time you have is writing. Please rewatch this video as necessary and make sure, again, I cannot reiterate more. If you have questions, please ask me. I am here for help. I am happy to look over things. There is no question too big or too small. I hope you are all feeling well. Oh, also, don't forget, we have Membean this week, and there's an end of quarter 2 Membean quiz coming up on Tuesday, the 18th, when we come back from our little long weekend. All right, I will talk to you all later. See ya.